folks, and welcome to another Saturday morning Samoflange. Halloween right around the corner, and I'm about to give the top five. No, this just 5 times I was scared, maybe as a kid. One of these, not as much. Just times I was scared. I trying to think of a spooky one, and I couldn't think of one. Now, Benjamin will be back. If you're wondering where he's been this whole month and a half even, we've been practicing. The show starts, I believe, it's going on for the next 2 weekends now, so we'll see how it does. But he'll probably be back after that. So I knew I had to do these ahead of time, so I'm doing these way ahead of time to get the jump on them, so I wouldn't have to be slammed, because I know practice is really going to start getting going late, and I'm not going to have any time. I hardly have any time to do anything nowadays, so I got really ahead on all of my stuff, except for the podcast. So here I am trying to do this one too. And yeah, I wanted a Halloween theme one. We've done like everything, horror movies, stuff like that, things that scare us, stuff like that. I thought about 5 other instances of times I've been scared. I think I mentioned this a week ago or last week when I talked about calling my old roommate up and ask him to check on a story for me, just to make sure. And should I start these in chronological order? That's what I'll do. I'll do them in chronological order, in a way. Well, no, one of these could fit. Yeah, I think they all fit in chronological order. One takes place over time, but I'll go for it. As a kid, dogs scared me, man. Dogs barking, I thought they were just going to rip me to shreds. Now, dogs bark worse than its bite, right? It's never going to bite you, it just barks. You bow up to it, it'll most likely run away. Most likely. But I didn't know that as a kid, so I'd be scared of a dog that was barking. And, of course, there was we used to bike home from school back in the olden days. Mom would drive us up to school with our bikes. We'd unload the bikes. You know, you chain lock them to the little bike rack, and then we would bike home. A lot of kids biked home from school. We wouldn't bike up to school. You would bike home from school. I don't know why that was a thing. But we biked home from school, and it wasn't that far. We usually biked halfway across town a lot of times, you know, just on a Saturday. This is back in the good old days. Your parents never knew where you were on a Saturday. But we went bike. We would bike back down, and there was a fast way and a long way to get there, as there always is, right? You have to go around the long way. And we started choosing the long way because there was a dog on the short way there. So we had to go on the other side, which was way farther away, you know. There was a closer road that could take it, but when we went down that road, we knew that dog would have us for lunch. So we just went around him the other side of the block. Like, instead of going straight down the street, we decided to just go around the block to just cut out his pathway. And but I remember doing that because I was like, I don't want that dog coming after me. Because even though we were on bikes, we'd hear him running. We'd run as fast as we could because he'd chase us on the bikes. He wasn't going to bite us, but we thought he was. And so it scared us so bad. And I've told this joke before, but the time I stopped being afraid of dogs was when my uncle took me and my brother for a walk one day around his neighborhood, and a dog came rearing up. I don't know, this dog may have bitten us. But anyway, it started running up to us barking. We hid behind him. My uncle reared back and he kicked that dog. And that dog went running. And I remember I looked at my brother, I was like, wait, you can kick him. Like, it didn't occur to us that we had the power. We were the giants. We could stop a small little dog attacking us. And when talking to my brother, I said, hey, do you know when I stopped being afraid of dogs? And he recounted the story to me. He's like, when Uncle Robert kicked that dog? I was like, yeah. So we both have the same memory of when we stopped being afraid of dogs. Now, unfortunately, that isn't the last time I'm afraid of a dog, so I'll talk about that later. That was the first one. Dogs on bike. I have this. Second one, I remember being scared about this. My first night alone out in an apartment. I had begged and pleaded Bruce from Prince of the Universe and my other buddy, Roger, that I wanted to live with them. I wanted to move out of the house, get up, be on my own. They agreed. We found a 3-bedroom apartment. We were so happy. And I was the first one to move in. You know, they weren't going to move in till like the next day or something, but I couldn't wait. We could move in whenever. So I went ahead and moved in to the apartment way ahead of, well, just like a day before. I had all my stuff unpacked. I had I only had enough for my bedroom was so small. It is, looking at the room I am in right now, it is 1/4 the size of this room. It was just my walk-in closet, is almost as big as my old room. But I just had enough stuff. I had my bed, a bookshelf. My bookshelf back then, for my Star Wars fans, was only Bantam hadn't made that many books, and I had a two-shelf bookshelf. That's all it was, and that everything could fit on it. Everything could fit on it. Everything from the EU could fit on that bookshelf back then. And I was just like, wow, I was so happy, and that I had my own place now, and so proud of it, and everything was tucked away. Everything was in the, I brought my clothes drawer. I don't even think I had a closet in there. And I had my clothes unpacked and everything. I mean, I'd spent all day moving in. And it was just me. There was no other furniture. I didn't have couches or tables or dishes or anything. My other roommates were going to bring that from their old apartment the next day. And so I was so excited. And I vividly remember this night, by the way. I vividly remember this day. I have no memory of them moving in and us moving all that furniture. I have zero memory of that. That is so weird to me now. But I remember myself moving in that day, all by myself. And I got there, was so happy. It's time to go to bed. There's no TV, by the way. There's no TV. I don't have a TV. I don't have anything. And so what I decided to do is I'm just going to go to bed, get a good night's sleep. And, I'm the first one here, my first night on my own, super happy, didn't sleep at all. I was so scared. And I remember I went downstairs, made sure the door was locked. I didn't want anyone breaking into our empty house. And then I went to my bedroom. I closed the door. Then I pushy locked the door. And I was like, okay. And then I tried to go to sleep. And I'd hear one thing around the house, a tick, or maybe a bump against, one of the neighbors bumping against the wall or something. And I'm up. Who's it? Someone's here. Hold on. And I'm like super scared that someone's going to bust in, come upstairs and kill me. I'd never been alone in an apartment before. Alone at my parents' house before, well, with my brothers maybe, and that wasn't so bad. There's always one other person there. You go camping, you're kind of alone in your own tent, but that you have other people around you. But for some reason, being alone in that apartment that first night scared me to death. I remember I pushed my bookshelf in front of the door, just in case they opened it, then they couldn't get in. But I was thinking, man, maybe I should push my dresser drawer in front of it, because that way they could never bust through the door. But I didn't do that. I I remember pushing the bookshelf, two shelf, 4 foot high bookshelf up against the maybe it was a 3-shelf bookshelf. Maybe that's what it was. Either way, it was a small bookshelf back then. I pushed that in front of the door, or just to the side of the door so it would catch on the door, and did not sleep. Kept waking up through the night, scared to death. Slept like a baby after Bruce and Roger moved in. And, because there were other people with me. I don't know what was the difference, Why would someone breaking in the room still not go up to, break into the house, still not go up to my room? And to tell you how far I'm gone from that moment, last time I was traveling with my company, I was in a hotel, and I'd open the door and just let it close on its own. Or so I thought. The thing was, it was not closing. In fact, one day it just stayed open. I didn't even realize the door was wide open. And you think, well, Matt, didn't you see the light coming in from the hallway? No. I was tired. I turned off the light. Maybe I thought it was the bathroom light door. I don't know. But I just rolled over and I just went to bed. Next morning, I woke up. I got out of bed. I walked to the bathroom and then noticed my door was wide open. I went, what? And I closed it. And I kind of looked around. All my stuff was there. And I was like, did someone come in? And then when I opened it and just let it shut itself, I realized it was catching somewhere early on the carpet. And it didn't come. I was like, oh, it's not closing. And it just stayed wide open in the hotel in Phoenix, Arizona. I didn't care. I didn't care. I went back to, I was like, that's weird. I mean, of course I closed the door when I left that morning, but I think someone would have been more scared to walk into a hotel door that was wide open. It was dark. You could hear someone sleeping. I wouldn't go in there. I'd be more scared. So that's kind of how far I've gone since then. But I remember that first night. Oh, man. That first night in the apartment by myself, super scary. The third one here, and this is one that I had to call Will. Will is Bruce's brother. And I wanted to make sure. It wasn't a scary moment. It was. Everyone says they have their ghost moment, right? You have your ghost story. Everyone has a ghost story. Something weird happened. And I thought, I remember when this happened to me. And I told the ghost story up at work. And I thought, you know what? Over time, we exaggerate the story. We forget all the details. We kind of ad-lib a lot. And before I do this, I do not want to ad-lib. I want this to be as real as it was. What was it like? Am I misremembering it? So I called my roommate at the time, which was Will, and he said it was exactly like this and started laughing, started telling me a few more details. What happened is we were roommates on and off. Will and I were on and off roommates. I think it was after Bruce had gotten married. Will was like my roommate like 2 or 3 times. He'd come up here and stay with me for a year or so. Then he'd leave. Then he'd come back a year later, and stay. I mean, it was just, and sometimes I remember one time he just showed up at the door. He goes, "Hey, roomie." I went, "Oh, you're rooming with me again? Okay, come on." Because he would go back down to Baton Rouge and then get tired and burned out and then come back up to Monroe, hang out with me. And I mean, to this day, like I said, I think it was last week's podcast, I still would love to have him live here. He's a fun guy. A lot like Bruce, but different. And he's a really good cook. Will's always been a good cook. He was training to be a chef when we were in college, and now he's just perfected it. And the man makes nothing bad. He makes nothing bad. I went over to see him, I think it was a few weeks ago. He had come up here. He went over to his dad's. He usually comes up maybe twice a year. And so I came up. He didn't come in the spring, so he came in the summer. He's going to come back in the fall later on. In fact, as of this podcast, it should be in the next couple of weeks or month. I think it's in November or late October. I can't remember when he said he was going to come, but he's going to come back soon. And but he asked what everyone wanted him to make, and they give him a laundry list. Honestly, it was like 5 or 6 different things. I mean, big things too. And he made them all. But for me, I didn't get to ask him what I wanted. So for me, he made creme brulee. I'm getting to my scary story in a minute. I just realized I'm off topic. But he made creme brulee for me because back in the day when he was learning how to make creme brulee, he made just gobs of it in the kitchen. And it was all in the fridge. And I was like, oh my stinking goodness, I am sick of creme brulee. And that's kind of funny because creme brulee is kind of a fancy little dish. So just for kicks, dessert was creme brulee. Everyone laughed because everyone knew the story. And he saved one for me. I got there late. To the party, but he saved me a creme brulee, which I ate and I still hate. I'm still burnt. That and ranch Doritos. I can't eat ranch Doritos either because of Will, because he used to eat them all the freaking time. In fact, he used to eat mac and cheese all the time, and I never ate mac and cheese for like 10 years or something after he left because I was just so sick and tired of mac and cheese. Yes, I ate what he ate. Of course I did. He's the chef. But now he never makes mac and cheese. He does other things. And everything he had that night was just glorious. Anyway, this is one of the times we were roommates. I don't know, time number 1, 2, 3, who knows. I'm in the kitchen making something, and I hear the remote control going on and again, just flipping channels. Like staying on it for like a second or two and then going to the next one. Then you hear something else, then change the channel. And I mean, he just kept doing it. And I was like, Will, I said, pick a channel and stick on it. Like at this point, he'd gone through the whole cable channel at least 2 or 3 times. And then Will calls at me down the hall. He's like, "What'd you say?" And I said, pick a channel. And I went, "Wait, are you in your room?" He went, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, who's changing the channel?" And Will thought it was me. So we walked in there, and what my suspicion was that, we'd watched something on TV. The remote control was right next to us. We set up. It had fell between the cushions, and when we set up, the cushions pinch the remote control to have it keep pressing, up or down through the channels, which is why it was doing it. No, the remote control is sitting there on the coffee table, and it is changing. The button isn't stuck. It's changing on its own. It's blinking and changing. And I was like, well, that's weird. I mean, true, maybe faulty remote, right? Or maybe something was a little stuck. We just didn't notice it. And I was like, that's weird, isn't it? And so I pick up the remote, and then it stops. It turns off. The TV turns off. That's what Will told me. I thought it just stopped. He said, no, the TV turned off. Because he said, did you turn it off? I said, no, I didn't even touch it. I mean, I just picked it up. And at that moment, because I remember when I picked it up, we said something. Because I thought it stopped. And he said, did you stop it? I went, no, it stopped on its own. But he said it turned off. So he may be wrong. I don't know. Either way, that's when the fan turned on. And we both remember that. And we weren't even near the switch. The fan turned on. And when the fan turned on, I remember William looked at me. He went, I'm gone. And he said, and I said, what? Do you remember what you said when the fan turned on? And he said, I said, I'm gone. I said, that's right. You did. So he did remember it pretty well. Now, whether the TV stopped changing channel or actually turned off, I don't know. But he remembered that too. And that was my one unexplained phenomenon that I don't, how the fan turned on. That was the weird one. That was the really weird one. Because we had not even, I mean, it was just so weird. But either way, so spooky moment there. Actually, spookier was, what was it? We moved into a new apartment, and I was the first one there. I'm always the first one there. And I did have a TV back then, and we moved into a new apartment. I rented Halloween. I was watching Halloween for the first time, and there's a scene where someone's calling her phone. She keeps picking up, and it's no one there. And then she hangs up, and then the phone rings again. She picks up again, no one there. And then there's a knock on the door. Okay, I'm watching this on the VHS. There's a ring, ring, ring. Suddenly my phone rings. Well, I see she picks up and no one's there. So I pause, I pick up, no one's there. So I thought, that's weird. So I play it again. More rings. She picks up, no one's there. She hangs up. At that time, my phone rings again. I pick up. I went, hello? Hello? And there's no one there. I hang up. I had push play again. There's a knock on Laurie Strode's door. At that exact moment, there is a knock on my apartment door. And I lived on the second floor. And my windows were closed. I said, is someone watching this through the window and knowing how is this happening? How is this happening beat for beat? In fact, I thought maybe I should watch the rest of this movie to figure out who's behind the door before I open the door. And I opened the door. This is back before, not every apartment had little peepholes. I don't think this one did. So I couldn't see who it was. I opened the door, and it's Bruce. And he goes, hey, I wanted you to come out here and help me move some stuff up. He said, I tried to call you on my cell phone, but it's messing up. He had tried to call me once, then again, then he just decided to just come upstairs instead of calling me to come down and see him. But it happened beat for beat like that. But that was just a fun story. All right, so anyway, we're not getting very spooky and scary here for Halloween. My next one, and this is, I thought of a few, my top 3 movies that scared me. I know we did this on a Samoflange a long time ago with Mikey and CJ. So I wanted to just give my synopsis of the top 3 that that really scared me. Watching it and leaving the theater, I was really scared. One would be, the first one was Blair Witch. And Will and I both talked about this. When I saw Blair Witch, I've been camping several times. Being lost while camping is scary. It's super scary. And so on top of that, throw some, some supernatural in there, eerily scary. So I'm freaked out at this point, right? And I didn't know, I was super scared. I remember Will called me up after seeing it. He was driving out in the woods, and he said he had to drop some girl off, and he was driving back. He went, Matt, he said, I'm just telling you. And this is back when, cell phones, it was expensive to talk on cell phones. You only had limited minutes. He said, you got to stay on the phone with me the whole time. I said, the whole time? He went, yes. He said, I can't do this. If my car breaks down, I'm going to die. Because he was so scared after watching it, and I was too. Still one of the scariest movies I'd ever seen. Another one that scared me so bad, and Will also happens to be involved in this story too, but it was The Grudge. I went down to I didn't have a long time ago. No one lived around here. No one. All my friends had moved away. And so the only friends I really had were all moved down to Baton Rouge at the time. So I was going down to Baton Rouge every weekend. Every weekend I'd go down to Baton Rouge and hang out because that was who all I knew there. And I went down. We watched a movie that night. We were all super scared. It was called The Grudge. Still a scary movie. And The Grudge scared me so bad that when I went back to Will's house, Will had just gotten married to his first wife, and they offered me their guest room, which I was very thankful for. So I I slept in the guest room, but I could not sleep with the lights off. I had to go turn the lights on. I was super mad at myself. I was like, grown man, I have to. I mean, this is past the college days now. I'm in the 20s, but past the college days, and I was so mad at myself for being scared of a stupid movie. But I couldn't sleep with the lights off. Now I can watch anything super scary, appreciate for being super scary, and sleep soundly. But back then, that movie just scared me so bad. Another one that I thought was super scary. By the way, for The Grudge, I would not go up to the attic. My buddy asked me to come up with him to the attic to help him get some stuff down. And I know that scene from the attic in The Grudge. I said, look, I am embarrassed to admit this, but I just saw The Grudge and I'm freaked out about attics right now. I can't go into anyone's attic. I said, I'll sit here at the ladder, foot of the ladder, and catch anything you throw to me, but I'm not going up there. And he just kind of looked at me like, that's kind of weird. But he did, he understood and went up there anyway. But either way, that's how bad that movie scared me. Even the sequel, I remember scared me. I remember watching the sequel and I bought a Pepsi bottle in there. I was twisting the bottle so tight. The little girl that sat next to me, because it was a packed theater, she was sitting next with her grandfather. She whispered to her grandfather, "Daddy, look at him." Like, yeah, there's a grown man freaking out right next to me. And I was, man. I was like, oh my gosh. Even the third one, which came out straight to DVD, scared me. It scared. And I think Megan and I had just gotten married when 3 came out, or it was around that time. And her cousin came over to watch it with us. And she and her cousin jumped out and scared me afterwards. And it's a good thing I was coming out of the bathroom, or I would have pissed myself. But that was a really scary movie. And the last one was The Conjuring. When it's just showing a dark corner and you don't see anything, but the girls start yelling after a while when the door slams, you yell too. Brilliant movie. One of the best. It's too bad the Conjuring series is crap. The third one was so terrible. The second one was okay. All the spinoffs have been subpar. The Nun is enjoyable. The Nun 2 was enjoyable, but still not any par. Maybe par with Conjuring. Now I think Conjuring 2 was even better. But the Nun spinoffs have been my favorite spinoffs, but that doesn't mean I love them. That means they're okay. They're okay. But the Conjuring was really good. I enjoyed The Conjuring, and it was super scary. I do admit it was super scary. My wife watched it. She didn't watch it. She closed her eyes and plugged her ears the entire time. I don't even know why I paid for a ticket. But anyway, The Conjuring is a very scary movie. Now, the last time that I was super scared, okay, was, I don't know, about 10 years ago. I can't remember. We didn't have kids. Living at the old house, I used to do walks at night, do my exercise. I'd go out, do my morning. In the mornings, I'd do exercise. I'd exercise for a morning. I'd do weights and a little bit of cardio. But in the evenings, I would do a 30-minute walk. It's about 2 miles. And, wanting to just stay in shape was the thing. And plus, I like walking. I've always liked walking. I like pushing my little babies around. That's one thing I miss because I've been doing the stupid show. My daily walk with the babies it's done right now, and it bums me out. I mean, we'll sometimes throw one together on a Saturday, but Saturday's kind of crazy when I'm watching all 4, and I can only take 2 in a stroller. So, but I do miss the walks with the kids. Now, I used to walk all the time myself, and still do. So, well, now I walk with babies, but either way. I was out for a walk, and it was night, and I was just enjoying the nice weather. and everything. And this old lady who lives a few blocks away from me, she had let her dogs out, I guess, to go to the bathroom. She had 2 Great Danes. If you've never seen a Great Dane, they're huge. I mean, I didn't even know they could get that huge. So I see them. I don't know what they are at first because it's dark. I'm like, what is that? And those are Great Danes. And they're sniffing the ground, the front yard, and she's just sitting there at the front porch. And then the Great Danes look at me and they go, grrr. I mean, like they are bowed up, ready to come at me. And I slowed down. I remember I slowed down and came to a stop. And I was right there in front of her lawn. And I was thinking, I can't kick that high. That dog's face is almost equal with mine. And I said, and this all went through my brain in like 1 second. I'm thinking, I'm going to have to punch a dog in the face. But I can't punch these dogs. They will bite my arm off. And then for the first time, again, and the last time since, my uncle kicked the dog, I went back to being scared of dogs. I didn't know what to do. I froze, and the little lady went, she was like telling him, Zeus, whatever the other one's name is, Bruto or whatever. She said, down, down. And she goes, it's okay, son. They're not going to hurt you. And I'm like, I slowly was walking away, and I was scared. But I was like, lady, there's nothing you could do to stop them. There's nothing. That little old lady, she was like 90 pounds soaking wet. I don't even know why she needed 2 Great Danes. What, was she going to saddle one up and ride around the neighborhood like Zorro on it? It was insane. Why would you need dogs that big? But she did. She did. She had 2 dogs. But I remember telling my wife that story. I'll tell another story. My wife didn't want me to tell the story, but I will. One day, I was walking, and when I was at the furthest point, the point of the halfway point, I was farthest away from the house than I'd ever be, and every step from that point on would be closer to the house. That was when I had to go to the restroom. I mean, number 2. And I mean, it just hit me. And it was like knocking on the door. I am the farthest from it. Now, usually I would call for evac. I left my cell phone. I would do, not on purpose, but I would leave my cell phone sometimes. And I left my cell phone that night. I had no one to call. And I was like, oh no, how am I going to make it? So I kept walking, and I had to stop, and I had to squeeze, and I had to pray, and I had to yell, and I had to cry a little. I was like, I don't know if I can make it. Every step was excruciating, and it was just coming. Well, then eventually I was like, you know what? I was like maybe 2 blocks away. I knew I wasn't going to make it. And, could have gone right there in my pants. Could have, but I didn't. What did I do? Well, I found one of the neighbors' mailboxes covered in ivy, and I fertilized it. Yep, I did. Went back the next day to see if I had to get rid of any evidence. If the neighbors found out, I got up early that morning. It's like, oh boy. I hope there goes, oh, what's out all the leaves? But it had rained that night. Clean as a whistle. No one even knew. Somewhere in that ivy, human fertilizer. I was like, right on. Next time they check their mailbox there, they're like, what is that smell? Is there a dog here? Did something die? Yeah. Yep, I remember that. Lots of good memories. When I did not have, pushing the girls when they were little babies, I did, and this is the last time, I made sure I started bringing my phone, because I'd always forget my phone, but we were the furthest out, and it started to rain, and I was so mad that I'd forgotten my phone, so I had to push them in the rain. I cut, it had a little covering for them, but they were still crying because it's pouring down rain. I am getting soaked, running as fast as I can. Terrible. I remember we hid under a tree for a little while, but then I saw it just wasn't letting up, and I was like, let's just go. So that's what we did. I'll still walk the girls every once in a while, though, when they want to. Every blue moon, they want me to walk them. And the strollers. Thankfully, the stroller's still big enough for them. But if they're a lot heavier, that's for sure. And going uphill in the neighborhood I am isn't a joy either. But yeah, I do like walking them. Anyway, 5 times I got scared. There it is. Not really a top 5 there, but it's okay. 'Tis the season. By the way, I hate Halloween, so I don't care if you have a happy Halloween. I'm going to have a miserable Halloween. I despise Halloween. I've said this on so many podcasts before, I'm not going to repeat myself. But you can have a happy Halloween or whatever. And hey, in the comments, What's the time that you got scared? I'll see you next time on Saturday Morning Samoflange.